Tim McGeever, welcome to Burgh Vivant.
Thank you.
We're clearly attending the same wedding this evening.
Yes, well, a laundry day.
Yeah, but your finest, right? It's just airing out the closet, right? Giving it some, rotating the stock, right?
Every Monday.
Well, you look fantastic.
Thank you.
Really, I appreciate the effort, to looking good for this show. Next to my disheveled old tuxedo I made out of an old curtain and chicken fat. You might not know that by looking at it.
No,
but
not to look at it.
you're involved in a very interesting show right now over at City Theater that has quite a title, and I am going to have to read it.
Yeah, most people do.
A funny thing happened on the way to the Gynecologic Oncology Unit at Memorial Sloan-Kettering Cancer Center of New York City by Hallie Pfeiffer.
That's right.
What is this show about?
That's a good question. I would say a lot of the information is in the title, but it's essentially the story is there are two mothers who are suffering from cancer and undergoing treatment, and they share a hospital room, and one mother's son is there helping her sort of through all of it, and the other mother has a daughter who is sitting at her bedside. And the sort of main portion of the play is about the way that the daughter and then the son sort of interact with one another. And they both sort of bring a lot of the emotional baggage and a lot of the, I think, natural stresses that people have when they deal with a loved one suffering from cancer. And so it's a comedy, but
I clearly got that from your description.
It's a comedy. A funny thing does happen there, but it's it also I think it resonates pretty deeply for anyone who has had cancer enter their lives. And I think if you live long enough in this world, it's sort of inevitable that somebody you love and that you care about will have to deal with it.
Oh, sure.
And so I think it's certainly something that struck a chord with me and with a lot of the people that are working on it. But it's a really smart play, and I think anytime that you're in a situation where the stakes are as high as they are in this, there can be great comedy that comes of that. And there certainly is, I think, in our show. So we're pretty excited to get it out in front of people.
And you play Dan,
yes.
Right? And what is Dan's...
Dawn.
Dawn.
Dawn, sorry.
There was a fly on my
yes,
paper.
Me too.
You play Dawn. What is Dawn's role in this story?
So without revealing too much about it, Dawn's mother has been suffering from cancer for 7 years. So he's sort of the long sufferer, whereas the other side of the curtain is sort of a newer situation. So Don has spent a lot of his last several years just sitting next to his mother at the hospital bed, and so you see a character who's sort of paid the price personally in his family, but also in a lot of other ways, and you see the toll that being near somebody that's suffering like that can take on someone. So, hence the sort of disheveled facial hair.
Oh no, I think it looks okay.
Oh, well, thank you.
I sell yourself short.
Wore this to distract from this, but
it's working.
Thank you. But yeah, Don is probably the grumpier of the two main characters, I would say. So he tends to play the straight man in a lot of the funnier moments. But he gets his punchlines too, and yeah, I think it's a play that a lot of people will relate to, and I know that in our previews that we've had so far, you see a lot of very emotional faces in the audience by the end of the show.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to go from such heavy emotional material and then such levity.
Yeah.
I mean, did you or the cast find that especially challenging in a piece like this, as far as how to handle that? Or
yes. Well, I think it's an incredibly challenging play because of the sort of the topography of what we have to navigate. But I think great comedy comes from truth, and great comedy comes from pain, and there's a lot of truth and a lot of pain in this play. And we've been very lucky. We have a great director, Josh Brody, who's sort of leading us through all of this, and I'm very lucky to have the castmates that I do. Jenny Putney plays Carla, and she and I, sort of spar for the better part of 90 minutes. But we've just been very lucky, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner.
And previews have been good. People are enjoying it.
They've been very good. Yeah, a lot of laughs. Some surprising laughs. It's always interesting to see what the audience will react to.
The lot of shows I've seen where it's heavy material, but also has a comedic side. I find sometimes the audience needs permission to laugh for the first time, and it just takes one person to give a big cackle, then it's it kind of breaks the piñata open from there.
Yeah, well, Carla, the female character is a stand-up comedian, so she sort of breaks the seal on the laugh pretty quickly, and it's not exactly PG comedy that is her sort of specialty.
When we're dealing with gynecologic oncology, I mean, that's either very clinical or not PG.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, no, I would say leave the kids at home for this one.
Right.
Yeah.
So, was there anything in particular that qualified you to be in a show?
Well, to be honest with you, I was drawn to this play the moment that the city announced that they were going to do it for a lot of reasons. I was familiar with Hallie Pfeiffer, the playwright. I was familiar with her work. I lived in New York for the last 22 years until May of last year, and then my wife and I decided that we'd like to try, living somewhere else. And I had worked in Pittsburgh.
Claims another pair of New Yorkers.
It's true.
We're getting them.
The word is out, and we're telling anybody that'll listen. But I'd known Hallie a little bit as an actress and a playwright in New York, and so the moment that the city announced this play was part of their season, I read it and I connected with Don immediately. My mother actually suffered from lymphoma 10 years ago and passed away, and I was lucky enough to be able to go home and be with her during her treatments and all of that. So there's a very literal parallel for me. And I always tend to deal with things with a little bit of humor. I try to, and so I identified with Don in that way. But mostly I just feel like it's a quality script, and I'm drawn to well-written plays, and the things that Don goes through, frankly, terrified me as an actor. I didn't know whether I would be capable of, portraying it with truth and integrity, because it's some very scary emotional territory.
Because it's close to home, or something you've just not experienced?
Yeah, both. Both. Because of the closeness, I knew that it would be important, and I think when you're willing to take something seriously, the stakes go up, and so I knew that would be the case on this. But also, Don is a very emotional person, and these highs and lows that he goes through in the play are pretty extreme. And typically in my career, I tend to be the guy who gets to tell the joke, and doesn't really have to do too much of the heavy lifting when it comes to the emotional stuff. So I was excited for the challenge, and I've been pretty gratified with the whole process. It's been pretty great.
And all of this happens in the course of 90 minutes.
90 minutes, yeah. I don't know that we could take much more than that, honestly. It asks a lot of the audience.
Wow.
I'd like to think we reward them for, their effort. There's a lot of fun stuff, and a lot of very unexpected things happen. So you get a lot, I think, in the 90 minutes. But at the same time, I think for people who connect with it on a deeper level, 90 minutes is probably enough. I know that by the end of it, I'm pretty exhausted.
And you'll be running this through October 15th.
October 15th.
You're just kind of getting started over there. So by the time October 15th rolls around, what do you think you as a performing artist will take away from this that you didn't have before?
That's a good question. I'd like to think there will be some growth in terms of just my craft, but also spending time working on a piece that I believe in as much as I believe in this piece. I think is always sort of a reinvigorating experience as an artist. So often, you sort of have to pay your dues and suffer through things that maybe aren't the ideal picture of what you sort of wanted as an actor, and sometimes you get plays where you like many elements of it, but there are other things that maybe are not your favorite. But on this, I'm just really happy that I've very little to complain about. And so I try to stay present in the moment, slow down time, and make this one last because it's a special one.
Well, that's great. And
Yeah.
we're all looking forward to seeing it. A funny thing happened. Well, have you gotten good at saying this fast? Because I have to read the card. Can you do
Yeah.
it without looking at something?
I can do it. Let's see. I mean, I think I can. Oh no, here we go. A funny thing happened on the way to the Gynecologic Oncology Unit at Memorial Sloan-Kettering Cancer Center of New York City.
All right, now is that the fastest you can do?
I mean, yes, I'm going to say yes.
That could be a contest. Now, what do you guys call it for short?
There's nothing short. A funny thing, maybe, I guess. Although I know the public is doing a funny thing happen on the way to the forum.
It gets confusing.
So it can be
What
a
about
little confusing.
gynecologic?
Yeah.
Are you seeing gynecologic this weekend?
I sometimes will write out the first letter of each word, but that in itself
What
is...
is there like a snazzy, what would this called, acronym for this?
I haven't come up with one.
AFTH, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I
Good
don't know.
luck.
Thank you.
In all the spare time you have over there, and emotional freedom, think about that.
Yeah,
Get back
that'll
to
be
us.
job number one.
But thank you, Tim. We're looking forward to seeing you in A Funny Thing, ... over the City Theater through October 15th. We'll have a link on the video for tickets.
Awesome.
Cheers to all your
Hey,
success.
thanks so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right.